For the past few months, many of us have been eagerly waiting for the next Terraria update 1.4.4. With all the new cool spoilers being shown, why would anyone not want to be interested in it? While we're waiting for this update, many people are talking about the stuff that's being added to it, finding other games to enjoy along the way, or even trying out new updates of mods that for either 1.3 or the newly released 1.4 Team Mod Loader beta. One mod that I don't think a lot of people are looking at is Spirit Mod's 1.4.3 update that has recently come out, or soft launched as they put it. Since I couldn't find anyone on YouTube has covered it yet, why not cover it myself, I thought, and show you guys what they has to offer. Oh yeah, whoa. Oh hey guys, didn't notice ya. Sorry, I was just had my annual jam session to the Tide. Hell yeah, baby. Anyways, welcome back, and today we're going to be looking at the Spirit 1.4.3 update, and specifically the content that it adds in. First off, we're starting off with a new Desert Miniboss called the Vulture Matriarch. He's a new Desert Miniboss, or I should say she, since it's a matriarch. And let's go check her out. Alright, we're in the desert, and let's spawn this good dude in. And here is the Vulture Matriarch. As you can see, shoots out these little feathers that when they hit you... apparently they do nothing. Yet, the wiki says they do inflict a debuff, which makes your gravity greater and your damage greater. But once you start to damage the Vulture Matriarch, they get a little annoyed with you, I'm not gonna lie. And it starts to charge a little bit more at you. But once you kill the Matriarch, you get to drop this big Vulture Matriarch golden egg. But instead of actually getting the egg when you pick it up, you'll get one of two items. In this case, we got the Tome of the Great Scavenger. As you can see, ignore the other one. You can also get a mask, but apparently we didn't get it that time. And as I said, there are two items you can get. The Tome of the Great Scavenger, which is a tome that shoots out these bird nails that, when they kill enemies, grants a greater chance of dropping gold. Or you can get the Silveren Talon, which is a sort of spear item that, when charged up, releases a sort of wave of energy. As you can see, boom! But yeah, it's a really nice little mini-boss that they added in, and I say it adds just a little bit more to the desert. Next up, we have 3 new musical tracks, or 3 at least in box form I could get. Though I think there's like at least 6 new tracks, but these are the 3 that are, box form. The new music pod. First, we're listening to this one, which is the theme of the new Deep Ocean. Pretty cool. I think it fits the ocean greatly. Has these sort of like beep and bops that make it feel like, you're underwater swimming around like reefs and corals and stuff. Next up, we have the theme of the Ashfall event, which is a new sort of like ambient event in the underworld that just kind of acts like visually a sandstorm, but not, without the stupid wind. Pretty ominous, if you ask me. Pretty cool as well. And finally, we have the Crimson Nighttime Biome thing. I gotta say, this is probably my favorite one out of the bunch, just because of how it sounds. As you can tell, it's definitely based off of the Crimson Biome. I like how it just has enough change to make it like cooler or more ominous than the daytime / underground Crimson event, but not too different to where it's just something completely, entirely separate. It's really nice. Next up, we have what? A new mount? That's right, and it's called the Aurora Stag. Now, you need to get this little thing called the Ice Spirit Attainment from the Ice Biome. I don't know exactly where you get it from, but you probably either get it from a tree or somewhere underground. But, you might be questioning, why don't I see the Aurora Stag in its pen right now? But wait a minute! Cool transition! Whoa, how did I get here? How did the Ice Berry in my inventory get here? And most importantly, what the hell is that thing? That's right, this is the Aurora Stag. and you will encounter this in the wilds of the ice biome. And once you feed it the ice berry you have in your inventory, just watch. As you can see with that very cool split-like cutscene, we get a mount called the Aurora's Saddle, which summons a vibrant steed mount. And if we use it, as you can see, you get this really cool looking mount, dude. And I gotta say, he looks so cool. His leaps are amazing. His particles are cool. And his speed's not bad. I don't really want to demonstrate it too much here, but you know, it's pretty nice, like, compared to the unicorn mount even. So honestly, really cool looking, really awesome feeling, and a really nice way to, like, introduce a mount. However, next up we have what everyone wants to see in a mod, weapons. Very cool ones. And let's take a look at our new selection of weapons in no particular order. Okay, quick speedrun since this took a while. First off, we have the Sanguine Flare, a sort of whip-like weapon that is also summon damage, and when you hook onto an enemy, it deals constant damage. Next up, we have the Toucan, which is a summoning weapon that summons a little toucan to fight for you. As you can see, it does a little bit of a feather shoot attack as well as charging in. Next up we have the Graveyard, and I gotta say, this is such a sick item. Just look at this. It summons this really cool portal that shoots out these red skulls, and when they attack and hit like a floor or an enemy, they have this really cool projectile blast that's in the shape of a skull. Next we have another summoning item called the Fairy Whistle, and when you use this, it summons a little fairy above your head. And if you have another enemy around, it has this little projectile attack it launches out at them. Next up we have the First Mate, a new aquatic sword weapon that has this sort of three-pronged attack phase, as you can see right here. 1, 2, and 3. And it has an up, a down, and a sort of like sideways slash. It's also omnidirectional too, so you can have it going like up or down or left or right, which I think is pretty cool. Or you can have this really cool thing as this sort of blast like cannon. I think that's pretty neat. Next up, we have the Starfleet, which is a better star cannon because it doesn't just shoot 1 or 2. It shoots out a nice spread of stars. Another one we have is the Anime Sword, and because of weapons out, it's looking really weird right now. But if we use it, as you can see, it has this clean slash that goes back and forth. Finally, in this section, we have the Crystal Wind Chimes, and when you use it, it summons out these little notes, magical notes that kind of circle around, as you can see, come back to you and then just disappear. Honestly, not only are they really visually appealing, but it actually does some really nice damage too. Our next weapon, we have one of my other favorites called the Jade Dios, and you will just have to see it. Look at this thing. It does 4 regular swings and then 1 double-bladed swing, which I think is really cool looking. Finally, for this section, with the Carry-On, which is sort of an upgrade to the Howling Bow, because it shoots out these little dudes that have a little circle animation after they hit and deal even more damage to your targets. Alright, next up we have Lady Luck. And this has a little funny thing where you can right-click to throw a lucky coin, and when you shoot this coin, or a bullet at this coin, the bullet will be ricocheted towards the nearest enemy and do even more damage, as you can see. Also, it has this really cool backfire spray, which I think is really sick. And there's a decent amount of damage for you, you'll probably get it. Next up, we have a Pesterfly Cane, which shoots out these little Pesterflies that home onto your enemies. Obviously, if a target dummy, it doesn't, but it still does a decent amount of damage. Next up, we have the Liberty, which is a pre-hard mode rocket launcher, which shoots rockets. Ours, of course, called the Warheads, which is a new type of ammo in this update. And if we charge it up, we can fire it at the test dummy. And as you see, that's a decent amount of damage, not gonna lie. Next, we have the Blade of the Dragon, which again has a kind of fucked up thing, thanks to weapons out. But just like the Anime Sword, it has this really cool effect once you go back and forth, I'm not gonna lie. Next up, we have Explosive Rum, which is a new type of like consumable throwing item. As you can see, once you throw it out and it explodes, it leaves this little trail of fire on both sides, which I think is pretty cool. Does a pretty decent amount of damage. Next, we have the Gastric Gusher, which is a gel-based weapon, which shoots out this spray of acid. Yeah, I don't know about the acid part. Well, it looks more like actual poo. Next, we have the Possessed Hammer, which, if you swing it up, as you can see, you could throw it at your enemy and destroy them. Absolutely, just kill them. Finally, for this part, we have the Pieces of 8, -7, you get a joke there, which is a pirate drop that shoots out coins. And unlike, what you might think, this is not a magic weapon, but a ranged weapon that doesn't use ammo. Like, see, you don't need your coins, even if I'm not in God mode. Next up, we have the Iron Bomber, which, just like the Liberty, is a bombing or a rocket launcher. But instead of shooting rockets, it shoots out these kind of grenades instead, like electric grenades, as you can see. And just like it sounds, it's also visually appealing. Finally, we have a few more weapons. First, starting off the Claw Cannon, which shoots out bubbles that bounce off of enemies and each other, which is really cool. I think that the physics of it are really sick, and I think it has some decent, you know, damage too. Next, we have Prismatic Grenades, which are similar to regular grenades, except when you hit an enemy, it summons this poisonous cloud that, if you're a little too close to it, will damage you as well. Next, we have probably the most boring item, actually the second most boring weapon in this update, the Roof Trident, which is like a regular trident, but you know, just a little bit more visually appealing with its spread. Next, we have the Urchin Lobber, which, I mean, come on, you read the name. It's a lobber, it lobs urchins that explode in the spikes. Are you surprised? Name one person who is.
Oh, that's right. You can't.
And finally, our last two items, the Curse Breaker being the first one. Now, this is sort of similar to Heavy Swords and Split, as you can see right here. There's 1, 2, and then Final Swing, which I think is pretty cool, honestly. And a new summon item called the Man-Eater Skull. As you can see, it summons a skull with 3 weird fleshy eyeballs. It will shoot out these red blood-like eye shots or whatever that deal damage to the target, which I think is pretty gross, but also pretty cool. And next up,
Wait a minute. Is that a Risk of Rain 2 reference? Oh my god!
Yep, that's right, everyone. 1.4.3 adds in a new Risk of Rain 2 referenced item, and you probably were hyped for this if you know the game, because it is the one, the only, the ukulele. And basically, what the ukulele does is it's an equipment that, when put in your equipment slot and while hitting enemies, it has a chance to create a chain of lightning. And his music was electric. Oh my god. But basically, if we just put this on, oh no, there's a group of slimes. Oh, I don't know how they got here. Anyways, if we start to kill them off, as you can see, these are summoning lightning chains that do more damage towards the enemies too. Not only that, but if you combine this and the previous update's unstable Tesla coil, you'll get yourself the electric guitar, which also hits lightning with enemies when you hit them, but just attacks them as well occasionally. Oh no, we're around enemies again. As you can see, it occasionally lets out lightning sparks that damage enemies, and has lightning chains that are red this time, which is really cool. Now, we're on a roll of weapons, if you count the previous things as those, which I do. Because next up, we have probably the strongest weapons in this update. And that's right, new Lunar Weapons. We have our Solar one, our Nebula one, the Stardust one, and the Vortex. First, we have Helios, which is a sort of baton-looking solar weapon. And when you start to use it, it summons this flame circle around you. And if you release it, it throws this circle out and just retracts inwards again, but not without dealing a butt ton of damage. However, instead of releasing it, you can right-click while holding it to do a sort of dash into your enemies. You can either have a sort of tank attack where you tank into the enemy, or you can have a sort of safer attack where you just throw it at them. Pretty good in my opinion. Next we have the Void Quill from the Nebula pillar, which if you use it, summons this really cool looking like Void Rift thing, which does a very decent amount of damage. Next up, we have the Supernova, which, I'll be honest, is sort of an annoying weapon to use. As you can see, it summons out this weird-looking star contraption thingy that eventually disappears. But if you have a summons around, you can target it with your summons and destroy it, which releases a huge explosion of damage towards the enemies. So it's sort of like a game in which you have to use your summons to kill it to do even more damage than your other summons towards your enemies already. Which, if that makes sense, you know, it makes sense if you understand what I mean. Finally, we have the Tesla Cannon, which is a really, really cool looking item. And if we just go over this way, because I need to use it in a better environment, it's a weapon that uses gel, and once you fire it, it summons these, like, chains of electricity that home on your enemies and destroy them. Like, holy cannoli, does that look cool. Now, taking a little break from this sort of, more weapon-y side, we have Decor Galore. Starting out with this really cool, what is called the Ice Deity statue, which is used for a quest. And I mean, come on, this is like pixel art perfection. Mwah, it's beautiful. And right next to it, we have these things called Azure blocks, which are made from Azure gems, a mystic moon drop, which they just, made into a block, which I think looks really cool and has a nice effect during night. We also have this Briar water fountain, which just, it's a fountain, so of course it looks cool. And we have these special things, which are called Aurora monoliths. Basically, the same thing as Solar, Nebula, Stardust, Void, and Vortex monoliths. But instead of like the background of the solar, a nice aurora background. Like look how sick this is. You can have variants too, such as a pumpkin moon one, a blood moon, which I've actually seen before, which I think is really cool looking. The frost moon one, and of course the spirit biome one. All just absolutely beautiful looking. And as you can see, the Azure gems are also just looking pretty sick at night. And finally, for this little section, we have it's a nice little casino area where you can just roll and waste your life away and never get a 3 in a row. I don't think it's impossible, man. You can't get 3 in a row. I don't believe it. I don't believe in that, man. Sorry. Anyways, next we have just a few Misc accessories, pets, cards, and more, which include the Infernal Pact, which when equipped deals 4% more to your damage, reduces your defense to 0, but adds 0.75% our damage per defense point lost. Next we have the Rangefinder, which is like a little scope add-on for your all your guns, and basically works just like a cell phone where you can just put in your inventory and it works. As you can see, if we take Lady Luck out and use it, you can see this sort of blue fire or blue scope aim, which I think is pretty cool. Next we have the Frost Giant Belt, which adds 50% knockback resistance when charging a club, and club damage is increased proportionally to knockback damage done. The Crystal Flower, which spawns these little crystals in when enemies die, or has a chance to at least. And next up we have these sort of two items that go along together. We have the Short Fuse, which makes explosions burn quicker, and the Long Fuse, which makes them burn longer. So if you want your explosions to wait a bit after you throw a bomb out, use a Long Fuse, the opposite for a Short Fuse. Next we have the Niman Chariot, which is a new minecart added in this update. And as you can see, it looks pretty cool when you use it. Next up, we have the Four of a Kind, which just take my word on this, since I don't really want to show it, since you'd have to do extensive testing to see it. But basically, it makes critical hits deal more damage, enemies who are killed by critical hits drop a heart more money, and critical hits or kills drop a time in aces, which empower damage. So it's basically just a little bit of an add-on that just makes your life easier. Next, we have the Caged Moonlight, which summons in a little moonlit fairy that, or like the description says, does not protect you and just stays there. We have the Captain's Cap, which is a new vanity that just, makes you look like the Captain Yar. And you have these 3 masks from the Hydra. You have the Acidic Hydra mask, boom. You have the Fiery Hydra mask, and you have the Venomous Hydra mask. And we'll be getting to the Hydra a bit later. Alright, and next up, well, you might be wondering, actually first, out of no apparent reason, and just at this specific moment, Joe, why is there a book in the top right corner of your screen? What does that mean? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that leads directly into my next point, quests. Because that is right, Spirit Mod is adding in quests in this update, and I gotta say, they look really sick. And they're not like the boring old quests that the adventurer, this guy, used to give you. They're actually really sick looking. And you might be wondering why I have them up here. Well, yeah, usually some of them will have like exclamation points above their head and a little quest like word right here for them, for you to go and fulfill a quest. But that requires you to like actually like have completed a quest or just have the right NPCs around. So yeah, he was not around at the right time, and he's pretty much useless. Thank you very much, 10 minutes. But basically, what this does, as we can see if we open this little quest book, is that it gives us a UI of this really cool book with all these like quests you can do. As you can see too, it gives you this really cool like almost faded out like picture, just giving you like a hint about what the questing gonna be a lot. Like Broodmother, oh, that's the Vulture Matriarch. It's probably gonna go on us to kill it. Oh, is that the Aurora Stag? No way. That looks really cool. That's probably what the quest is about. And basically, when an NPC gives you a quest, it will pop up in your chat with this little like text saying, "Oh, click here for the quest." Where you click it, and it will give you a new quest to do. Now, right now, I only have 4 quests to explore: 1 exploration, 2 slayers, and 1 other quest. as you can see from the 5 main different types of quests. There's also active and completed quests you can do, which all just are just there for nice convenience of looking at them. As you can see, it has an objective, which shows you what you need to do for the quest. The client of the quest, or who's asking you to do it. In this case, the first one was the adventurer, and the rewards it gives you. So this one would give you 2 cartographers map and a gold coin. Now let's say I want to do one of these quests, and I want to do, let's say, Taming the Stars again. So what I would do is I would open the book, I would click activate, and now I have this active quest that I'm just trying to do. And I would try to fulfill the requirements, as you can see from this handy quest, by first retrieving an ice berry. Oh, look at that, I magically got it without the help of Heroes mod. Whoa. And it's the next one, which would be slowly approach the Aurora Stag and feed it the ice berry. And boom, baby. The quest is now complete. Alright, and as you see, when the text fades and doesn't come back up, you've done it. You have completed a quest, Taming the Star. And you can click here and see that you have now completed your quest. You can click the button, and you get all the stuff, as you can see. A nice little implemented system into the game. One I think that's pretty well done, not only in the UI / just visual apartment, which is spectacular looking, but also quests that are both interesting and fun to do. And finally, before we get to some of the very interesting stuff, we're going to go over a little bit Misc adding additions to this update. First, Fairy Stars, which are just a new source of ammo made from stars. Basically, 1 fallen star equals 10 Fairy Stars. Just a nicer way to get ammo. Next is a Surrender Bell, which you can buy from the wizard and just end an invasion. So useful for like the pirate invasion. Next is a Mirror Coat, which is just it gives you immunity to stoned, the effect from Medusa. And the last is the Bloodright Dagger, which summons the Blood Moon, but won't be in the 1.4 version of Spirit Mod since the game already has that. With that out of the way, next we need to go to the ocean, since our next stop is the aquatic area. But before we fully explore the ocean, let's talk about some of the stuff it's added, such as driftwood, a new type of wood. As you can see, there are also small driftwood, medium driftwood, and large driftwood pieces that can float about in the ocean. Basically, a small driftwood turns into 10 driftwood blocks, medium into 20, and large into 25. Just, a little variation, a little nicety. You can also turn in the walls for house decoration, and a sword for a basic melee weapon. Next, we have the kelp hook, which is a new type of hook that works pretty well above ground. Like, it's pretty decent, but once you go underwater, it works so much better, honestly. You get a lot more speed than you would normally get. In addition, we also have another item called kelp. And kelp is basically a placeable kind of plant item you could put in the oceans or in water. As you can see, it says it must be planted in water and cannot be placed otherwise. Another thing as you just saw, is these messages in a bottle, which is a new raft mount, which when used gives you better fishing power in the ocean, surprisingly. It has pretty decent speed, I'd say. Let's see. Honestly, this is really good speed, like, barring that you don't even need the boots. Next, we have ambergris, which is sort of like a golden critter. Basically, you could sell this for like about 20 gold coins. And we have sunken treasure, which can be found at the bottom of the oceans, probably floating, and when you're probably fishing as well. I haven't tested those last two, but that's probably how you get them. And when you open them, you'll get bottles of rum, or explosive rum. Some other stuff, ship wheels, bars, gems, all that kind of stuff. In addition, driftwood also has a nice little bonus set armor you get from the beginning. But without further ado, let's explore the ocean. And as you can see a bit, right before we explore, there is a new mechanic to the game, basically floating. Certain items, such as driftwood blocks, will float up towards the surface of the ocean. But once we go down and explore, as you can see, there's a lot of cool ambiance, such as like this sort of like background noise, the background map, these cool like glowing kelp blocks and clams. But as we go deeper and deeper, we get the deep ocean music. You can see schools of fishes, bubbles everywhere. It's just so much more atmospheric now. But if you go down deeper, you get to the ocean floor, which contains hydrothermic vents, some treasure chests which aren't accessible to like hard mode, and weird but also kind of cool creatures such as synandroids. As you can see, I don't know what this is. It looks kind of gross, but you do you. Pale crabs, some tube worms somewhere. I don't know where the tube worms are. Oh, there's one over there. But honestly, it's just really cool to see the ocean in this more level of detail. Usually you'll get stuff that's like either really deep down or mysterious, but I appreciate the level of detail added to the top part of the oceans, and even like this part as well. Honestly, like, while it's nice to be down here and really cool, I think it'd be really cool for you to experience it yourself. So, obviously download the mod, download the latest mod. Do it. But anyways, moving back. Now, I specifically left a few things up here that I thought were either like cooler or just, I just thought this made this place look cooler. But this is where we're going to find a few things, such as the deep sea armor, or the cascade armor, what it's called now, and the bottomless healing potion, which is like the turquoise drop. Basically endless healing, as well as a few placeables such as Pure Glow, which prevents hallowed and corruption/crimson spread, the shark statue, which is cool, and this jade dragon statue as well. But what you're probably more interested in is this one NPC that the merchant won't be in front of, called the Oracle, or in this case Themistoclea, and she basically is a sort of new part of this marble boon system added in by the Spirit mod, which I think means basically there's this new type of currency called Olympian tokens, which you can get from enchanted creatures in the marble biome, which gives you access to this really sick set of weapons. And you can additionally get blessed by the Oracle, which has a higher chance of the enchanted enemies spawning, aka you can get the stuff from their inventory more often. And without further ado, I wouldn't want to leave you guys on hanging, because I need to show you all what these new items are. As you can see, we got some pretty cool upcoming items right here. First, we have the Blades of Chaos, which has this really cool looking effect, like God of War-esque, like, I don't know how to say it, like weapon visualization. Very cool, very powerful. Next, we have the Mark of Zeus. I am on our raft on land. We have the Mark of Zeus, which is Zeus' Thunderbolt, as you can see. Pretty cool. And next, we have the Iokera, which is a really cool bow that has two modes. Regular firing mode, and like arrow rain mode, or I guess this is more of arrow rain when you point it up, but like an arrow spread. Very, very sick. Next, we have the Eleutherios, which is an equipment that basically reduces the effectiveness of your healing items by 15%, but using it gives you a damage bonus that depends on, like, the strength of the healing potion. So if it's like 200 versus 100, the damage bonus from 200 would be greater. The Olive Branch is an item, like a Zen potion, reduces enemy spawn rate, and the Sacred Scripture calls the Oracle to you, so you're able to get, the blessed, or heresy debuff when whenever you want to. And for the Granite items, we have the Focus M2, the Techno brand, the Vector .109, and G-Tech grenades. G-Tech grenades are sort of this grenade that like kind of sticks after a while, doesn't do any damage until it explodes. As you can see, pretty cool. The Focus M2 is sort of like this laser pointer beam of light. Does a lot of damage, as you can see. Really sick. The Techno brand is a sword that has these sort of like echoes of it kind of appear after you swing it and do some more damage. And the Vector .109 is a sick looking gun that has nice visual effects. But now you might be asking, how do we get these Olympian tokens? Like I said, you said they drop from enemies. Well, indeed they do. We are now in the marble biome, and if we turn on our enemy spawns, we will soon be around a few enemies, hopefully some enchanted ones. Oh, look at that. It's an Archimillion? I don't know. Archimeton, which is one of the new enemies. As you can see, it's not enchanted, so it doesn't drop the coins. But if we run into one, right here, as you can see, enchanted basically means have these sick looking, like, kind of chromatic effects above their head. And once you, like, kill them, if we can, they drop Olympian tokens, which you can then use to buy all the cool stuff. Apparently, this thing also dropped the Vial of Venom. And here's another one of an Archimillion, or whatever they're called, Archimanon. Boom! More Olympian tokens. However, there's also a new enemy in the Granite biome called the Granite Tech Turret. Boom! It has this sort of laser tracking system that once it homes in on you, it has this little firing effect, as you can see. But once you kill them, you get this stuff called G-Tech components, which you can then use to craft up the items of the new Granite biome stuff, which I believe is like better than the enchanted chunks too. It's just like a sort of a secondary tier. And with that, it basically sums up all of what I wanted to show you guys today in the Spirit mod. And I've got to say, after checking out all of the new things, this is a good update. It might not be as big as a Calamity update. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But like comparable to, let's say, 1.4.1 or 1.4.2 of the Spirit mod, of course, it holds up very well. And while there's a few like bugs and like things they still need to hammer out, you have to remember that this is a soft release. So of course there's gonna be a few things amiss. But yeah, honestly, really looking forward to this update. And I want to know what you guys think about this update too. So comment down below your thoughts and opinions about what they've added in this thing. And you also might be wondering why I didn't show off a few other stuff, like if you especially read the wiki or look at the Discord of it. Well, I don't want to show it all off, as I want you guys to experience it too. And of course, this video is turning out to be a pretty big one. So make sure that if you're watching to sub to the channel, and it really does help out. It'll probably help me, actually make more videos in the soon too. And if you want to see actual gameplay of stuff, check out my Twitch. I think it's worth it. But yeah, that about does it for this video. I will see you guys in the next one, which will hopefully not be in 5 months, but very, very soon. See you guys later.